right. Welcome. How's everyone today? Good. Well, welcome to the community forum on Flock camera systems. My name is Kyle Crocker. I'm a sergeant currently assigned to the Patrol Bureau here in Simi Valley Police Department. If you guys were here on May 1st of 2023 at the City Council meeting, you may have already caught quite a bit of this presentation. That's when it was presented to City Council for the funding and whatnot. The system has actually been up and running for the last couple months now. You may have been seeing it showing up in some of our nixles on some of the cases that we've used the system for or in other ways. So what we want to do is have this community forum now that the system's up and running. Maybe you've seen the cameras around to dispel any myths and rumors about the system, some of the privacy concerns, address them that you may have, and also just a better understanding of really what this technology is. So that's what we're here to do tonight. And then at the very end, we'll open it up to some questions. So really, what is Flock? Flock is actually a private company that specializes in automated license plate readers, or ALPRs, or commonly referred to as LPRs. They blend their equipment along with their interface and algorithms to accurately obtain license plates and physical vehicle descriptors. They have two different types of cameras. They have fixed cameras and they have deployable cameras. Is that better? Oh. Normally, I don't have a problem filling a room with my voice, so I didn't want to yell at you guys too much. So in here, you can see is that, see? We have a couple pictures of what the systems are. The camera down on the bottom is really close to what you might see down and around throughout the city. They're solar powered with battery system run themselves. Simi Valley Police Department has actually been using license plate readers, or LPR, since 2011. With another company, Vigilant, and they were on the mobile units on the vehicles driving around. A lot of the private sector also uses LPRs, like tow companies, repo companies, whatnot, are gathering this data on it as well. Flock currently is used by hundreds of law enforcement agencies throughout the country, including the Ventura County Sheriff's Office, Ventura PD here in the county use it, and Oxnard and Santa Paula are in the process of acquiring the system as well. So really, what is this tech? This tech is just simply a license plate recognition system. It captures the license plate of the vehicle. It gathers objective evidence and facts about vehicles, not people. It alerts the police of wanted vehicles that are already added into the system. We use it to solve crimes, and it adheres to all current state laws. What is this tech not? It is not facial recognition. All right, we're not even getting pictures of people driving the vehicle. It is solely about the vehicle itself. It is not tied to any kind of PII or personal identifiable information. It is not used for immigration or traffic enforcement or abortion control or any of that. And the data automatically deletes from the servers every 30 days. If there was some information we needed from it within the 30 days, we would pull that off and we would store that in our own evidentiary system. Really what it's getting is getting the vehicle, the license plate, just the license plate, and then along with the make, model, color of the vehicle. It is not getting it's not jumping into the DMV records and running registration or any of that kind of stuff. So who do we share with? We only share with other California law enforcement agencies. We are not sharing with the federal government. We are not sharing our data with out-of-state law enforcement agencies. We're also not sharing with other state entities that are not law enforcement, strictly for law enforcement only. Even though Flock is a private company, we own the data that the cameras catch. We don't sell to third parties. We're not selling it to anyone else. And then we can control who we share with and who we don't share with. Along with that, other agencies in California also share their data with us, so that allows us to expand our net, and when we're looking for solving crimes, we can use the other cameras from other cities, ask permission to, and then they share with us as well. Something that's really important that wasn't discussed as much on the City Council meeting is that there is a transparency portal. I grabbed a snapshot of it. I'm not real technologically advanced, so I didn't want to be jumping around to the live and whatnot, but it can be found at the Simi Valley website, the City of Simi Valley website. Go under departments, go to the police department. Find your way down to information sharing, and then you can click on the Flock Safety SVPD Transparency Portal. When you go to that, it's going to give you a lot of information that might answer a lot of questions that if you didn't know or you didn't come here tonight, because I'll answer them all, you can get it from there. It's going to include what agencies we currently share with, a snapshot of what we use it for and what we're not allowed to use it for. It's going to tell you how many vehicles were actually detected in the last 30 days, which I jumped on it earlier tonight, and there was 425,477 vehicles that we captured data on. Again, that data is just simply the license plate, make, model, color, date and time, and location where that vehicle was. It also shows how many searches we've done in the last 30 days, and it shows any hot lists, and we'll go over what a hot list is, how many hot list hits we've had. Just to give you an idea, in the last 30 days, we've used the system to run 226 searches. So our detectives and our patrol officers, as they have an investigation, they're going to access the system on a reactive way or an investigatively and run a search on based on the information they may have, partial license plates, vehicle color, make, and model, whatnot. And then, so we've only run it 226 times. So you can see this is not a system that is constantly being used in the background. It's only specifically used when needed. And then we've had 1,082 hot list hits. What that means is we've had 1,082 vehicles go by our cameras that are wanted in some way, shape, or form by law enforcement. Be that a stolen vehicle, armed and dangerous felon, or any local wanted vehicles. So a lot of that information can be found, and that's updated. So if you want to know next month, you want to know how many vehicles have been in the last 30 days, how many have they captured, how many searches they made, you can go on there. On top of that, there's also an audit trail that we keep on all searches that all of our officers are doing in the system. And you can actually pull up that audit trail. It's not going to give you what license plate we ran and what officer it is, but it's going to give you all the reasons why they were running plates and how many searches that they've made. But we, on the back end, we have access to exactly which officers ran what plates at what time to make sure that no one is abusing the system. So we're talking a lot about photos. Here is an example of a photo that I pulled from the system. This is exactly what we look at when we run a license plate or we're throwing out a search to see that we had a black and white vehicle commit some sort of crime, and we're going to search the system in the last 2 days, a black and white vehicle or some sort of parameters on the time frame we're looking for. This is what we're going to see. You can see that the cameras are designed and installed to be towards the back. We're going to back snapshot of it. That's likely where the license plates are going to be. We're also able to get make, model, and color based on our own knowledge of looking at the system and then the machine learning of the system itself looking at it as well. We can search for roof racks or other distinguishing features on a vehicle that the system may capture. The results are largely dependent on the photo that we get as well, though. As you can see, daytime photo, we're going to get a really good, crisp, clean photo of that vehicle. The system is designed to capture the license plate. The photo is a little bit on top of that. So I've talked about the hot list hits and whatnot. So I want you to imagine that you're now working for us. Okay, you graduated the academy, you're out in a police car, you have your MDT up, and all of a sudden it starts, you're logged into the Flock system, it runs kind of in the background on a web browser, and it starts making a noise. That's letting you know you got a hit. A vehicle that is wanted in the system just went by a certain camera. This is what we're actually going to pull up, and this is what we're going to get to see. We're going to see the license plate, in this case, 1ABC234. That is what the system has read the license plate as. Further down in the bottom left corner, you'll see an actual photo of the license plate. What we're going to do, everything has to be human verified, so we're going to take this information and we're going to compare the two and make sure that we read the plate how the system read the plate. We're also going to see what the source was. In this case, it's the California Stolen Vehicle System. And the topic in this case, this is a wanted vehicle because it's stolen. It is reported as stolen. We have the camera location as camera number 4, and then what network it's on, which will be a Simi Valley Police Network. And then there's the photo similar to the photo I just showed on the last slide, and a map of where that camera is. Again, these cameras are stationary cameras. They're fixed. They're not roaming around. So from this information, an officer is going to get that within minutes of it driving past the camera. We're going to know that a stolen vehicle passed this certain camera at this time, and then we're going to take the information and we're going to run it through a separate database that we already have access to through DMV. We're going to confirm the vehicle is still stolen, still wanted, and then we're going to be able to now go look for that vehicle and hopefully catch it. So when we're talking about hits and we're talking about photos and whatnot, again, I want to be clear that we're gathering objectable data from the vehicle. We're not looking at registered owners from the system. We're not looking at anything else. It's the license plate, vehicle make, model, color, and you can see from these pictures that the angles we're getting it at. So flock and privacy. Privacy is very important to flock. It's also very, very important to the Simi Valley Police Department. I've touched on a couple of these already, but we are not getting any personal identifiable information is on the system. Flock is simply gathering the information, and then we're taking that information, putting it into other systems we already have access to, like DMV and CLETS and whatnot, and we're running it ourselves in that system. So they're two separate systems. All searches must be accompanied with a valid reason. If you're going to jump into the system and run a license plate, you have to put a valid reason as to why you're running the plate, and then we have that audit. There's an audit trail of all searches. Even though the data may delete automatically after 30 days, the audit search is maintained indefinitely. So we can see all the searches that officers have made and all their reasons indefinitely. It maintains that. The system is designed and placed specifically for license plates and vehicles, not drivers. We're not looking for drivers, we're looking for license plates and vehicles. The system only maintains the photos of the vehicle and the plate, along with the date and time and location. It is not a traffic camera, a real-time video, or facial recognition. What that means is this is not used to enforce traffic laws. It is not designed for that. It isn't able to do that. It's not running your license plate to see what your registration is it valid or not, and letting us know there's an overdue registration vehicle driving down the road. We can't log into it and just watch an intersection as cars drive by. It is only taking snapshots when it recognizes a vehicle. It is not using facial recognition. We're not even getting photos of the driver's faces, and the system doesn't even have facial recognition built into it anyway. All hits that we get, any information we're getting from the system, it is human verified, meaning that the officer who's looking at that information is verifying that that information is accurate to what they're seeing as well. And the data is only retained for 30 days. So we talked quite a bit about what the system is, what the privacy is, and how we're keeping that safe, but how does this really make us better? There's two ways that we really use this system. One is investigatively or reactively. A crime has been committed, and now we're going to use this information as another tool in of how we're going to go about figuring out who committed the crime and hopefully make an arrest on it. We can do searches off partial plates, vehicles, color, make, and model, distinguishing features. We know that it was a white sedan that fled the area at this certain date and time. We know where our cameras are. We can search that camera during that time frame and try to capture that vehicle. That was just more information, no different than if you were on scene, you witnessed a crime, and you got a picture of the vehicles that drove away. We're using the same information. It's just now we have them throughout the city in order to capture that information. On the proactive side, as we're patrolling around, the system is also helping us out by flagging us on stolen vehicles, stolen license plates, critical missing people, amber alerts, armed and dangerous felons, along with any information on the hot list that we've put into the system as vehicles that the Simi Valley Police Department is specifically looking for. We can get hits whenever that crosses one of our cameras as well. That allows the patrol officers who are currently working, instead of hundreds of cars out in front of them, they can go, that car is a stolen vehicle, report is stolen. They can verify everything, double check into the system, and then we can go and hopefully recover that vehicle for the person who was stolen from. We can also flag the vehicles into our hot list. A lot of our detectives, we're working a lot of the burglary crews or the organized retail theft crews. They're coming in from other cities. A lot of times they use the same cars, and our detectives may have identified those cars. They can put that in a system, so now we know, hey, they just exited this area or they just crossed over that area, and now our officers can be more aware of it. On the front end, our detectives can now, even if we don't catch them at that time, we know that they were there during that time frame, and allows us to just investigatively really open up leads that we normally wouldn't have. And then also on live operations, if we have a vehicle, either a suspect vehicle that we're looking for, that we're going to be doing a search warrant at the house, we don't want them there, or we want to know when they're there, we can use that system to help keep us safer and a little more on the ball when those people are showing up. So currently we have 20 license plate reader cameras installed, with 3 more planned to be installed. We're just working through the permitting and whatnot. There's the potential to expand. Flock has 2 sides. They have the law enforcement side, which is where we access. They also have an HOA and business complex side. That is a separate thing to where HOAs can purchase the Flock camera systems, and then they can decide if they want to share that information with us. And it's a one-way street. We wouldn't share information with them, but then they can share information with us on a need to know or just whenever. They can do the same thing with complexes. So we're hoping that maybe the bigger businesses in the areas that are having a lot of these issues can put some of their own cameras up as well to help us with the leads to solve some of these crimes. So we've had actually quite a few success stories already. I ran just a couple that I'll share with you guys. A lot of them are a little more patrol-based because that's kind of where my knowledge is based, being assigned to patrol right now. But as far back as on November 15th at about 2 a.m., flock alerted to a stolen vehicle. The officers located the vehicle and attempted to stop the vehicle, and the vehicle decided they were not going to stop, and then a high-speed pursuit was initiated. The pursuit was canceled due to safety concerns for everyone involved. But what was unique about this one is that later on that day, or earlier in that morning, we determined and we discovered that that vehicle was actually caught on a Ring camera by a resident going around and getting out and looking under people's cars, which is common of catalytic converter thieves to do. And so what they do is very common for them to come through, case around to see what cars they want to hit, leave, come back in the middle of the night to actually steal them. In this case, we got alerted that there was a stolen vehicle involved in it, and we were able to catch onto them and leave town before they actually committed any other crimes. New Year's Eve, shortly before midnight, we got another stolen vehicle hit from the flock system. In that case, the vehicle was located and the driver yielded, and the driver was arrested for a stolen vehicle. When we searched the vehicle, we found a loaded firearm. Actually, all the stuff from these pictures here are from this case and the next one, but a loaded firearm and burglary tools. And then running his rap sheet, we discovered that he was a convicted felon, so he's also a prohibited possessor of that firearm as well. So you can see that even though this is just a stolen vehicle, all the stuff that is accompanying with it, people coming in the middle of the night, a lot of the organized retail theft crews, the burglary crews, and criminals will go steal a car and then come into town and commit a bunch of crimes and then leave. About 2 hours later on New Year's, we got another flock hit on a stolen license plate this time. And the vehicle was stopped and searched, and inside the vehicle, there was numerous amounts of stolen mail, including checks, a crowbar, and a lot of other burglary tools involved in that. The driver was ultimately arrested for identity theft. Again, just showing that the common pattern is they come in town in stolen vehicles, or they'll take a plate off a vehicle, put it on the back of their car so it can't be tracked back to them. In this case, you get that plate reported as stolen. We get the hit on it in real time, and now the officers are able to be aware that there's a problem with that car, and then we can go and look into it. And then more recently, on January 15th of this year, at about 4 in the morning, officers attempted to stop a vehicle for speeding. It was at a very high rate of speed on city streets. The vehicle fled, and they lost sight of the vehicle. Due to the fact of the high speeds in that time, they weren't able to get a license plate of the vehicle, but they could tell a little bit about what kind of vehicle it was and what color it was. As you can imagine, at 4 in the morning, there's not a lot of traffic out there. So they're able to use the flock system, run the camera that they knew that the vehicle drove by, and get a license plate to that vehicle. From that license plate, we can run it through other databases to get some more information about who the driver may be and where they may be headed. Officers were able to now locate that vehicle a short distance away from there. They ultimately stopped the vehicle. This time he pulled over. He ended up being DUI, driving under the influence, and he admitted to running from the officers. So without the flock system, we would never have been able to say that that vehicle was involved in fleeing from us. So as you can see, we've had quite a few successes with the system already. And that's not even getting into a lot of the cases that we have ongoing, larger cases we have ongoing through detectives, on which we're not obviously going to share at this point regarding that. The biggest things with the system is just that. It's just objective data, vehicle license plate, make, model, color, location, date, and time. It is not jumping into anything else regarding who the driver is, what the registration is, traffic violations, or any of that kind of stuff. When it comes for officers accessing the system and using the system, there's a saying that we have, because if you've ever read the penal code and the civil code, it's pretty thick, pretty wordy, so it's basically you have to have the right to know and the need to know. Whenever you access any law enforcement database, including flock, you have to have the right to know and the need to know. As a police officer, we always have the right to know because of what our job is. The need to know is this for a legitimate law enforcement reason? The system is only accessed for legitimate law enforcement purposes, and that's when on that, whenever they do a search or they access it, they have to actually type in what that reason is, be that a report number or the penal code section or some other way to say why they're accessing the system. That's no different than the stolen vehicle system, no different than any other clutch system that we access as well. This is just another tool that gives us some leads on crimes that we wouldn't have had before that. With that, I'll open it up to questions. Yes?
When a vehicle has no plate in the rear, because that seems to be the kind of cars that are ending up in a Texas drive, is any kind of notification there when there's just no plate?
So the question was, if a vehicle does not have a plate, is there any notification from there? So without a plate, the system won't be able to access and notify us that this vehicle is wanted for anything because it doesn't have that objective data of the license plate. However, the vehicle can still get captured without a license plate, and then we have that make, model, color of the vehicle, and we can work it from there. Or we know that, because again, we're working this, just another tool that we use in conjunction with all the other law enforcement tools that we use traditionally. A lot of residents have Ring cameras now, so we'll get that vehicle drive by, we'll get a quick make and model, and then we can kind of backtrack it from there and then see where it may have hit as well. Okay. Yes, in the back.
You cited at the beginning that there was 1,082 on the hot list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, over what period of time was that?
So that number, the question was the hot list. I cited 1,082 vehicles that have crossed over our cameras that are associated with wanted through the hot list. That is in the last 30 days. That number will constantly update in the last 30 days. When you go to the transparency portal, you'll see that it'll say in the last 30 days is how many hits, how many inquiries into the system, how many total vehicles we've captured just through the system through our 23 cameras that we have. It doesn't include all the other cameras outside of the Simi Valley Police Network that we have access to. Of course.
Okay. Say Thousand Oaks or Moore Park, is the flock system, are you exchanging information with them? Or?
Yes, we are sharing with them, and they're sharing with us. A lot of times with it's the ORT crews, the burglary crews, and those detectives will be calling each other in real time. Hey, I just got a hit of this vehicle. It's probably headed your way. Even the loss prevention target and whatnot, they work with each other and our detectives using a lot of law enforcement tools. This is just another one of those tools that helps out with that. Yes. Yes, sir.
You said you use it by putting in a license plate registry. Can you flip it around and say, I want to see all the license plates past the camera in a certain time frame?
So
can you do that? What are the controls around that kind of driving search?
the question is, can we search to just see a list of all the license plates that are searched? As to my knowledge, no. Fortunately, we have someone from Flock here, Brendan, who's sitting over in the crowd. He might be able to answer that a little bit better because that might be deeper into the search tools that we come with. Because I can't really think of a time that we would want to do that because there would be no legitimate law enforcement purpose that we would have to just search. I want to know all the vehicles that drove through this intersection during the day.
Let's say like crime, and you think of a car involved past that, basically how many information you lose.
We can get, so we can search when we start getting into putting a time frame on it. Yeah, we can start searching a time frame, but without knowing what other distinguishing features, like what kind of vehicle it is, what color it is, it's kind of a needle in the haystack and not going to be really worthwhile. So I don't think you would find anyone doing a search like that. Anything else to add?
No, that's accurate.
Yeah. Yes.
Curious, this system is already installed, and how many cameras are there throughout our town?
Okay. The question was, is this system already installed, and how many cameras are in our city? Yes, it is already installed. We have 20 cameras currently installed with 3 more to be installed. They're in the process of being installed.
Whereabouts are they?
They're strategically placed throughout the city.
I think I've seen it in my neighborhood.
Well, let me go back. Hold on. Let me.
Now that you're talking about this.
No, it's a fair question.
We have one at the entry to Simi Valley and one at the exit.
Well, that depends. Have you seen that camera?
Something similar, I guess.
If it's that camera, then yes, you found it. If it's not, there's a lot of other cameras. So there's some misconceptions about cameras throughout the city and whatnot. You'll see them on top of the light poles or the traffic signals, whatnot. Those are not real-time cameras that we're monitoring people what's going on. That's not part of the flock system. The picture that you see right there, that is literally exactly what the cameras that we have installed with the solar panel. So
the high incident neighborhoods that get regularly robbed, do they have one of those?
So the question is, do the high incident neighborhoods that are commonly being targeted, do they have cameras? Again, the cameras are strategically placed to try to capture all the data that we need to as a tool in this. Now, if we were to have, the city is pretty large and 23 cameras. If we were to have a lot more cameras, we can get a lot more coverage on it. So we had to be pretty specific about where we want to put them and what we're trying to gather.
So you're sure we don't have one camera at the Oh, yes, right. The entrance to Simi.
I'll leave that to you to find out if you have a camera right there. All right? Yes, in the back. So the question was, what can you do if you live in an HOA to help get your HOAs to get the cameras? Really what it is reach out to your board and tell them about the system. They may not be aware of it. I'm sure Brendan would be more than happy to give you a card that you can give to them, and then just make them aware and let them know you want it. Yes, we'll do this out of the room behind Brendan, yes.
So how does it work with the HOA? If our HOA puts one in, do we have access to it at all?
The question is, if our HOA puts it in, do we have access to it all? Honestly, I have no idea. That is a whole different side of the ball game there that I'm sure Brendan can answer your question later. We're here just for the law enforcement side.
But we grant you access to it.
Yeah, the HOAs can grant us access either real time, all the time, like it's just one of our cameras, or when they want to share it with us. So the HOA, again, would own the data that they're getting, and then they would decide what they do with it. Yes?
So just doing a basic search a few days ago on the system, immediately the wonderful Google system started giving me algorithms of here's stuff related to it. And of course, the anti-police themselves popped up with them using fishing poles to put stickers on that camera, at least high enough to make it hard for them to do something like that.
So the question is,
They're purposely defeating them.
yeah, the question is, what have we done to stop people from purposely defeating the cameras? The cameras, obviously, as you can see, I'm not telling you exactly where they are. The cameras are placed in certain places. They're not designed to be hidden. They're placed to do the job that they're going to do. But we try to set them up in a place where they're not easily vandalized. But unfortunately, people will commit crimes, and then we'll deal with that with all of our other tools that we have to combat that.
Would you please mention to the public that they cost us money, so we can't do this?
Yes. Questions?
You mentioned like a ring interface for participation.
No, and maybe I wasn't clear. When that case that I talked about where that stolen vehicle came in and then we later learned that it was seen on someone's, that person called us and said, hey, someone was looking under my car. I have it on camera. That's how we don't have an interface with Ring. A lot of these tools that you hear about and you read about is the public and us working together to combat this stuff. Flock is just another tool that we use along with you guys calling and letting us know if you see something suspicious, along with, hey, I caught something on my camera, or I'm the victim of this, and really it's just us working with the community, and now Flock is adding to the tool for that. Yes?
Thanks for coming tonight. You mentioned that there's a parameter of 30 days that we store the data and some other parameters around the use of the system. Can you tell me how it was determined 30 days, and if that needs to be adjusted in the future, what's the process that you would go through? Does it have to come to the city council, or is that a statewide designation you can only keep it for 30 days?
So the question was, where did we land on the storing the data for 30 days only? I believe it is state law in regards to how we do it. It's also just kind of industry standard practice. If we haven't accessed the system and pulled the data we need within 30 days, we probably don't need it that bad. But Brendan, is there any more on that?
Yeah, so different states will have different policies with it. California, I believe, is a 30-day policy, and where that comes from is just that same concept is if you haven't pulled it in 30 days, we're kind of anticipating that it's not going to be useful for it, and that at that point it gets wiped away. There's other states that have longer retention periods, but that's more of a state regulation for it. But standard typically is 30 days.
Yeah, so Brendan was saying that it is state law in regards to the 30-day parameter. And then other states have different variations. Again, it's because we have privacy concerns. We want to make sure that we're maintaining the privacy along with the system as well. Yes, in the back.
I'm following up on that. Doesn't that make an issue? Because if, let's say I'm a criminal, I can wait 30 days to come back and commit a crime again. Because now there's no information in the clock system. So, I mean, once people know that there's a 30-day gap, they're going to come back every 30 days, every 60 days, let's say.
Yeah, so the question was, does that cause any issues with investigatively that we only have it for 30 days? Criminals learn that we only have it for 30 days, so they do it on they come shopping on a 31-day period. No, that's not an issue because we would get them on that first 30 days, and then our police reports are there for a lifetime and working the case, and then they come in and go, oh, we got another hit. 31 days later, same vehicle, same information as what we had before. Sorry, I misunderstood. So now the question was, if it's a stolen vehicle, does it retain that? So the flock gets the stolen vehicle information from the stolen vehicle system run through California. So as long as it's in the California stolen vehicle system, flock will notify us that it's a stolen vehicle. Very few things are automatically put into flock. It's going to be stolen vehicles, wanted, armed, and dangerous felons, and Amber Alerts or missing persons. And that system is put in, it's maintained by the state and put into the system by all local police departments saying, hey, someone's vehicle was stolen, here's the information about it, it's a very small amount what it is. And then flock gets that information pushed to them, just that stolen vehicle, the plate, make, model, color, and then we get the hit from there. Yes?
There was an arrest a few days ago for a hit and run where the person hit a cyclist. Were the cameras helpful in finding that individual, do you know?
The question was, we had a hit and run where a cyclist, a pedestrian walking a bike, actually I think is the one you're talking about, was hit, and then the vehicle took off. And the question was, did flock help with that? To be honest, I have no idea what tools they used. The traffic department worked that up. I would imagine that they use flock along with a lot of other tools to figure that out.
In that case, her friend turned her in.
The comment was, we think the friend turned her in that case. So I'm not sure if flock. I'm sure flock was used to try to search for something like that. But again, it depends on where that vehicle was, where the cameras are located, and what we have from there. Yes.
Is the 30 days a minimum or a maximum?
30 days is the maximum. 30 days is what the system sets. Is just every 30 days it deletes stuff. I would believe so, but I don't think that we would choose to. Yeah.
I'm just curious. So 30 is maximum.
Yes. And then right behind him.
What is the cost for private use of an HOA?
What is the cost of a private use? I'll have you talk with Brendan when we finish up here, because that's a little different from what we're doing here for the law enforcement side. Yeah, I'm sure you can go to the Flock website. I'm sure to have that information too.
Yeah, I looked at your transparency portal and the policy manual. The policy for ALPRs is from 2016. And are you guys planning on updating this?
The question is, the ALPR policy that the Simi Valley Police Department has is from 2016. Are we planning on updating it? Yes, we are. We're constantly updating all of our policies, and we're planning on updating that as well as laws and policies change for that.
Well, one concerning section on here was an ALPR may be used in conjunction with any routine patrol operation. Is that the case?
The concern is that the policy states that ALPR may be used in any routine patrol operation. Routine patrol operation would be a legitimate law enforcement purpose, and so.
Like a expired registration, that's a routine patrol operation.
Yeah, but the comment was expired registration is routine patrol. Yeah, but the system isn't going to help in that case.
Okay, so that's why these need to be updated, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
If a location goes down, how do you know and how long does it take to get repaired?
So the question is, if a location goes down, how long does it take to get repaired, and how would we know? So Flock monitors the camera performances on the back end to make sure that they are capturing data and that the images are quality enough to get the stuff, so they would notify us, and then we'd also see it in our own searches as well. When the system was first getting installed, we were running in our searches, if we were finding a camera that didn't look like the picture was good, we'd go have Flock and they come adjust it and whatnot. So we don't technically own the system. We own the data, but we have a rental contract with Flock for 4 years. What's nice about that is that they now maintain all the equipment for us. We don't have to worry about maintaining it. And then in 4 years, if there's better equipment now, we're not stuck owning stuff that isn't up to date.
Do they have a time limit to get a camera back to that?
So do they have a time limit? I'm not sure the exact time limit, but Brendan?
We're typically, if a camera is down, anywhere between 3 to 5 days. We do have, it's 26 different alarms in place, so if an angle were to slip and the camera maybe still had power but it wasn't capturing what it should, it would alert our team and we would send a technician out.
So to answer the question, within 3 to 5 days, someone would be out there and working on the system, the individual camera. Yes, in the back.
How many cameras would the police department in Simi Valley want to have in order to help the city?
5,000.
The question was, how many cameras would the police department like to have to help the city? To be honest, I haven't done that math yet. We would obviously love to have cameras all throughout the city just because of how helpful the data can be, because the more robust the system is, the more we can do for it on a proactive level. Be that stolen vehicle, it goes by a camera, and then it goes by the next camera, and then it goes by the next camera. We can actually now intercept it as opposed to just knowing it was here at this time and then kind of drive around looking for it.
I'm thinking that if people know that we have tons of cameras in the city, it will hopefully alleviate people from other parts coming into our city and,
Yeah, the comment was the more cameras we have, the more of a deterrent it may be. I don't disagree with you, but that would be something that we would strategically look at, because obviously we want to be fiscally responsible as well. And
I just, as a citizen, I would say make the map and let the citizens know, and then let's go to City Hall and ask them, to do something about it.
perfect, I like it.
I don't feel safe here, like I don't feel safe here.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, so, segueing a little bit to another side here. My wife and I were victimized, and, so, my question is, because I've talked to a lot of the business owners out here, and store managers, and I'm hearing from everybody up and down the corridor, down Cochrane, that there's a lot of issues going on, particularly in the area of robbery, smash and grabs, that kind of thing. My question is, and I don't think you can answer it, is how much of this is organized gang activity, organized crime, or is it just random people doing things?
So the question is a little off on the flock, but of the recent crime sprees that we've had, be the smash and grabs and the ORT things, how much is it organized and gang related, and how much of it is just random crime? To answer the question, both. It's both. We have a mixture of both. Our detective unit is obviously working on the more organized stuff, and then on the patrol level, we tend to handle the more one-offs and whatnot. But it's both, and it's hard to tell because it all goes in waves, and it could be one crew working here for a while, and then they go on to another city, and then another crew. So it'd be hard for us to be able to answer that question right now, but it's both.
On your 30-day policy of data sharing to other entities, do you share only hot list hits or data, or do you share the entire 30 days database?
So the question is on the 30-day sharing that we have, or sharing with other agencies within that 30-day period, what information are we actually sharing with them? Is that correct on the question?
Well, do you only share like something that came up as a hit on your hot list, or do you share the entire 30 days database, the entire?
So the question is, do we share the entire 30-day database that we have, or do we share just what's on the hot list? To be clear, the hot list of stolen vehicles and whatnot, that is pushed through from the state, so the state is sharing that information with them. And they're only concerned about when it goes past one of their cameras. They don't care if a stolen vehicle came into our city because they're not going to do anything with it. The other part of that question is, we share the pictures that you saw and the data of the vehicle, make, model, color, date, and time and location for the 30 days that we have it. So we share them access to our system that we have, our cameras that we have. We don't share with them our hot list information that we put into the system. That's just for our location. If you're logging into our flock portal, if you will, then we don't share that with them.
Every other entity have a 30-day policy, or just you?
Does every other entity have a 30-day? Yeah, that's state. That's state law.
What about out of state?
We don't share with out of state.
So if the feds came to you with a subpoena
Well,
or a court order, you wouldn't share it?
so the question is, if the feds came with a subpoena, that would be way above my pay grade. And now we're talking about a legal requirement to share information versus voluntarily sharing information. And so we would cross that bridge talking to the city attorneys in regards to whether or not we're going to follow up with that subpoena. That's the best I can answer with you right now. It hasn't happened, so.
It's a court order, sir, it's a court order. Yeah, we don't argue with the court.
I get that, but I mean, just to make the blanket statement that you only share with these entities is not really.
Well, so sharing and being compelled are two different things. So we don't share with out-of-state entities, we don't share with federal agencies, but if we received a court subpoena ordering us to do so, we would certainly.
Okay. Question in the back corner.
Yeah, I actually have two questions. So you're basically vacuuming up pictures of every single vehicle that goes by these cameras, which could potentially be most of Simi Valley. It just seems like a kind of an invasion of privacy to some extent. I mean, everybody says, well, if you're not doing something wrong, then you don't have anything to worry about. But you're holding on to this data, basically, what's the mechanism that changes the way you use the data? In other words, you say that you have certain guidelines that you use now, but like he said, what if the federal government comes in and start asking for certain things? If you didn't have that data, it wouldn't be a concern. Now that you have all those pictures, you know every movement of most of the cars in Simi Valley at certain times, it could be really abused, I think.
Okay, so let me see if I understand the question. The question is, we're gathering a lot of data on information, and how are we what parameters are we using to maintain that it's not being misused?
Yeah, I mean, are the guidelines you're using, are there legal, are there legalities involved? You say you don't share it with other states, well, is that just sort of, that's just sort of our policy now, or are there legalities, or is it spelled out in legal form? I'm just concerned about it.
I believe that is state law that we don't share with other states, but we also are choosing not to share as well. Yes, California state law prevents from sharing out of state, and then now we're getting into the same thing we just talked about regarding the federal government coming in and writing mandates regarding that.
Basically capturing the movements of everybody in Simi Valley.
So the concern is we're capturing the movements of everybody in Simi Valley. I want you to just keep in mind, though, that we are capturing information that is just out in the public. Everyone's driving around, no different than all the people who have their own dash cams are capturing the same data and whatnot. We're just putting it into a searchable way. And again, the only data that we're capturing is just the license plate, the make, model, color, and any distinguishing features as seen from the rear, as you saw from the picture. Hold on, let me finish, sir. With that data, then we'd have to have a reason to go to extract that data, and then from that, use it in a different system in order to even work anything with that data.
But Reed and Malloy had a hot sheet that they were looking for stolen cars. It's a little different than I don't think you'll understand that reference. Anyway, but the point is I understand if you're looking for specific cars, to me that makes sense. But having every movement of every person in most of Simi Valley can be abused. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand. The concern is how that the system could be abused, and that's where the state laws come into effect, the policies and procedures come into effect, that audit trail that we have comes into effect. So if there is any allegations the system is being abused, we can see that, and then we can take the proper steps for that. Yes?
Who determines at a later date if you want to use facial recognition for the same system?
The question was, who determines at a later date if we want to use the system for facial recognition? One would be state law would change regarding that, but two is the system doesn't have the capabilities of it, doesn't get pictures to even use facial recognition. But we don't in the state, in that Simi Valley Police Department, we do not use facial recognition. Yes. Sorry, right behind. No, you, yeah.
No, and I do appreciate the question about the surveillance and the privacy, just because of what we've been through the last few years. State law, that doesn't make us feel safe either, you know? But it's nice that there's no facial recognition. And but I'm glad that there's citizens here just to make sure, because sometimes the government's gone a little too far, and you know, we don't want them to use the police force or misuse and abuse. But this system, I mean, it seems good because Simi police is really good about, you know, like I just filed a report for some things were stolen yesterday, and an officer came right away within minutes, and then within a few hours, they already had the suspect. So I want to thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Because you're very proactive and care a lot about us and about our city, so we're very lucky.
Yes, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to always hear the good things that we're doing. As you can imagine, if you noticed, the presentation was really focused a lot on what we are actually capturing and how we're safeguarding the privacy, because we know that is a concern. Keep in mind that when I'm not at work, I'm also a private citizen. We all have our own concerns on the system. In this case, Flock also, one of the reasons we went with Flock is because they have the same concerns, and they developed the system to kind of give us the best of both worlds, being the investigative tools that we have to solve these crimes we normally wouldn't have to help get your stuff back quickly. Also with maintaining the privacy and anonymity as you're driving around. The system isn't saying who was driving at this location at this time. The system's basically saying this vehicle, this license plate was at this location at this time. That's what the system captures. And then we decide what we do with that information investigatively when we push it into an investigation. And then right behind, yes.
This may be best for Brandon. Yeah. Can you talk about what protections are in place on the side of Flock to prevent that data from being misused by your employees? And also, how you would audit department's use of it to see if you see any unusual patterns in use?
So the second part of the question, we do not audit the usage of it. We would allow a department to have the transparency portal with it to be able to do those audits themselves. And part of that too is us internally, we can't access this system. So we have our own safeguards in place. Even for myself being a Flock employee, I can't access it. So we take that part of it very seriously. There's different regulations and certifications that we do regarding the data that is there.
And that's enforced by technology as well as policy?
Yes.
So the question was, in case you guys couldn't hear, is on the Flock side, what are they doing to ensure that their employees and that their company isn't misusing the information as well? And Brendan answered that they don't even have access to our information to be able to see what plates and whatnot is running, and then they have the technology safeguards along with their policies to stop that, along with the audit trail that we have access to see that if they're searching on our system. Yes?
Of these 20 cameras that are currently in place being used, are those locations permanent, and will those change over time, and for what reason?
So the question was, of the cameras we have installed, are they permanent? Are they going to move? And was there another part to that? What would be the reason we would move it?
Move from place to place.
Perfect. Yes, the system is a fixed system. It is there in place all the time. We chose the locations for specific reasons. If we were to get more cameras, we would add them to other locations. When we might want to move a camera, it would be, think if someone all of a sudden grew a tree that we weren't planning on and then is now blocking the view that the camera has, or some other reasons that were outside of the picture that we have now and it's not working in its location, then we move it. Or I could see if, like he said, if someone's vandalizing that for whatever reason, they keep vandalizing the camera, maybe we'd move it in that case. But we would move it just whenever we needed to move, reach out to Flock, have that camera moved to make sure that it is accessing the information that we need and we're getting our money's worth for it. The left, yeah.
I understand everybody's concern on privacy. I've been in Simi a long time. I think we all live here because we know it's a good community. It's a nice community. Of course, we have the same problems that most cities are moving towards. And I just wanted to say that I think the privacy thing is a good question, but if you become a victim, I don't think that's going to matter to too many people if it helps solve the problem.
So
I want to thank all the CBP for what you guys do, kind of what she was saying.
You're very welcome.
And I appreciate it. I personally think load them up, run them, use them as much as possible.
Yes. So well, thank you. Yes, question.
Directly in line with what this gentleman was saying. My wife and I, we were victimized at a bank. Leaving a bank, they followed us. We were robbed in another parking lot. So after that situation happened, I've been talking to store manager, bank manager, I've been talking to everybody. And the consistent thing that I get, because we have witnessed people staking out parking lots in shopping centers, okay? Or let me say, highly suspicious characters, okay? And the question I'm asking is, why don't you have cameras? So here's the question. Is anybody reaching out to the malls and the strip malls and the stores and trying to integrate their parking lots into the Flock system?
So the question is anyone reaching out to the various complexes and business strips and reaching out to see if we can get them integrating cameras into our system? I would imagine Flock on the business side is doing that because they obviously want to have their product out there. We're also reaching out to them as well, making them aware of it. But again, that would be a business owner or an HOA's decision on whether or not they want to do that or not. We would be more than happy to have more cameras in our system because we've seen the system works really well for us. Just that quick little snapshot that I gave you, those success stories, I mean, that's just a small little taste of what we've been doing with the system. And as we have the system longer, our officers will get better at utilizing the system, understanding how quick we know where to look for the information and whatnot. And I think we're just going to get more success with it. Yes?
Well, and even with the BLM and Antifa, the rope disguise and the masks were around, and it made it harder, even with cameras. With the criminals coming in now, they're still able to go in with masks, where before it would be something you would be concerned of if someone went into your store with a mask. But now it's hard because it's, you know.
Yeah, the comment was that people are wearing masks and they go into stores, and it's normalized now when it used to not be. So knowing when someone's committing the crime and not committing the crime can be challenging, especially in today's day and age. And absolutely right. Same with the license plates. They can take the license plates off. They can switch license plates. This system here at Flock is just a tool to help us. People have been doing that for as long as I've been working here, for over 18 years. It's not new tactic that the criminals use. This, again, is just another tool that we have information now that we didn't before.
Hey guys, real quick, if I could too, I just want to address, because it seems like, and we certainly appreciate there's an equal concern for privacy and Fourth Amendment issues, as well as really trying to use this for investigative purposes. And why we really like Flock is because it's not an either-or situation, it's an and. We feel very strongly that we can still protect people's personal privacy while using it investigatively to solve these crimes and to really use it for something that will help us hopefully prevent situations, I'm sorry, like these folks right here, or at least minimally be able to follow up on it. It is kind of confusing in the way that just because a camera captures the plate does not mean anything happens with that information, as far as Sergeant Crocker talked about. An officer still, every single hit on Fox still has to be human verified. So we will still look at it if we need to, if there's an investigative purpose. And I promise you it captures far more plates than we could ever physically go through a process on our own. So if there's no investigative need, we don't do anything with that plate. And I don't want to underestimate or broad brush this concept of having personal privacy being overlooked. But really, it's no different than when you drive down the street, however many license plates you see out there is however many license plates you see out there. It doesn't mean that anything necessarily comes to fruition with it. What it is if we have a reason, hey, this crime occurred in this area, and it was this vehicle or this description of a vehicle, we can then go back and extrapolate data from what was collected. But I don't know, I'm hoping that you guys can see that it's an and situation, it's not an or. Like, hey, if we're using it investigatively, then that means we're also violating people's rights. Or if you're protecting people's rights and we can't use it investigatively, we can actually, we feel very strongly we satisfy both of these. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, perfect.
And that is good to hear, because we just worry about like a slippery slope.
And I promise you, that does not fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
As Sergeant Crocker pointed out, we're also private citizens too, and we're not here. And I don't want anybody misusing my information. So I can assure you, I will do my best to assure you guys that we do have policies in place. There might be a slight misunderstanding with what you're talking about with the policy needing to be updated. If there is an investigative need, we will use that information.
But the policy was from 2016,
correct. So if there's no reason to update it, we don't necessarily. It doesn't mean we don't use it. We're still
you
using
implement
that
it
policy.
and are using a system that you have no policy for.
If I may on that.
So if someone
Sir.
misuses the
Sir.
system, how do you punish that officer, whoever does it?
So we have other policies that have to do with misconduct.
But if you don't specify what is misconduct with this system, how do
We do.
you punish it? Where? It's not in this. It's not in your
You're right.
policy.
We have different policies for different areas of law and different things that we do. So we have a misconduct policy that's very robust.
Yeah, a lot of our policy, you'll see it cites civil codes, and then that civil code is where it goes into what can and cannot be used and punishments that go along with that, which is in the policy. Keep in mind that we've had license plate reader technology since 2011, and it's been around for 2 to 3 decades on top of that. So even though our policy was updated in 2016, the Flock system is just another system of the same technology. So the policy, if we constantly go over them and update them as needed, but it's kind of in line with what we were already doing with our mobile units that were on the cars, which we have 1 mobile unit left in the fleet. So we got time for one more question. Who's got the most important question? By how high you raise your hand. He was first. Yes.
The positive side, to encourage get city council to allow more use, is there tracking going on saying how many positive accomplishments are happening from the clock system to say, okay, we can allocate more money, we're seeing the positive results, we're getting a return on our investment on it. Say, okay, let's do more.
Yes, so the question was, are we tracking the successes that we are having with Flock? So that way we have a better idea of how the system is used. Is it being fiscally responsible, or do we need more? Yes, we are. We actually have added that to anytime an officer clears a radio call out, if they utilize Flock and it was helpful, they actually drop down and answer that question, and then we can track that, and then detectives are also tracking that. Keep in mind that we've been up and running and really working with the system for the last couple months. So we've been figuring out how best to track our successes with that. And then, so we get a lot of emails, my partner and I get a lot of emails regarding successes because we've reached out and asking for that as well. But yes, we are tracking it, so that way we can see, first off, is it useful? Because we don't want to waste money. Or is it so useful that we want to maybe ask for some more money to get some more cameras in the system? I think we're right at a really good point with what we have, with what City Council has agreed to in regards to a good system that we can use a lot for tools, but not so overboard in case it ends up not being as useful as we thought it would be. I think we're right in that sweet spot for it, and as you can see, we're already seeing a lot of success with it. So that's all the time I have.